It could be a cross, a Bible, it could be whatever. You look at it and you gaze, right? You don't really think about it, right? You don't really think about it. You're kind of just brain fart.
Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Atheist Vanguard. My name is Derek Hawke.
I'm Phoenix.
Ben Estaville.
With that said and done, let's jump into our first interview.
Hi, my name is Viral. I'm with the Atheist Vanguard, and I'm speaking to
Marcus.
Marcus. Are you a native of San Antonio, or?
Yes, born and raised southwest side.
Nice.
San Antonio.
We're from Austin. We're just here for the week. We're just here for the day.
Yeah, I saw y'all signs. I saw y'all's Austin logo. So.
What do you think about our signs?
I think they're a natural human response to anything. What you're basically questioning what life, purpose of life, why do we follow this system, why do we not, and so on and so forth. Every other human being does.
I see. So, what do you believe in and why?
I believe in an eternal being. I believe in there's an architect. I believe in God. I believe in that Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior.
Okay. And why is that?
Why is that? Good question. Why is that? Maybe it's because things in my life that I have experienced, both physical and supernaturally. Also, just on a transformation on what I used to be to where I am now. That's a miracle. That's something of a higher power can do than I can't do,
So what did you used to be, if you don't mind me asking?
What I used to be, where do I start? You want to get down to my life? What I used
Whatever
to do?
you feel comfortable.
Oh, I feel comfortable. Anything.
Anything then.
I was sexually molested.
Oh, wow.
By my father. Oh, yeah, it's all good, man. It's all good.
Sorry to hear that.
Oh, no, that's life. Life gives you, sometimes a bad hand, and you either make the best of it or you dwell on the shit. If you dwell on the shit, you don't move forward in life. You don't grow in life. I look at it as life, and that's the way it is. Balls up, man up. But other than that, went through, like I said, was the black sheep of the family. Basically went through ups and downs, questioning a lot of stuff. I was a sex addict, using, I would say, methamphetamine as my drug of suppressing the anger, rage that was in me. Using everything, anything I can as life. As I used to believe in sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I used to want the world to burn. I could do a lot of things. I could easily manipulate you into getting to things that what I want you to do. Reading body language, reading hand movements. I'm very in tune with my being to the point where I'm a sensor. I could easily sense and feel. That's part of my graft. I'm an extroverted, but just going through a lot of stuff and then getting to a point where every person, I believe, who turns to a higher power gets to where you break, where nothing works, where drugs doesn't work, sex doesn't work. I was hitting the shit. I was hitting everything, hitting anything you could think of, and thing wasn't doing it. And finally, you get to a point where you have to turn. You get to something, you get desperate. You're like, forget it, I'll try it. Let me see who this thing is. And what the trick is and that's where the trick was, is I was basically desperate, and I surrendered whatever I had left, and that's all it needed.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. It's like God is not gonna. Well, what my Bible teaches me is God is a good God. He's the type where He gives you free will. You have the choice to either reject Him or accept Him, and He does. You notice that every time when you look at anything religion, it could be anything that points in a sign of religious, whether it's a cross, anything that points in that direction. In God's direction. It could be a cross, a Bible, it could be whatever. You look at it and you gaze, right? You don't really think about it, right? You don't really think about it. You're kind of just brain fart. You just look at it, stare at it, and you kind of just and you wonder why. Why did I look at that? That's Him trying to get your attention. Now, right there, when you look and you kind of go about your business, you reject Him. And that's your choice, and that's why in Judgment Day, when you come before him and you kind of look and you kind of say, well, I didn't know about you. He's like, I did. I tried to get your attention right there. You looked in my area and you turned away, and that's your choice. But that's the I guess on why we were built so incredibly. The free will. It's like you. Would you rather have something that loves you because they really love you, or something automatic? The choice, and that's what it really all boils down to. But yeah, that's my whole story. A lot of bull stuff too, a lot of supernatural stuff happened to me too as well. And I think that's the point. I think atheism, you'll want the supernatural feeling. You'll want to see it to believe it. And I think that's where it boils down to. It's not just, I could give you a book and show, no, here, and y'all could debate whether or not, well, that's man-made. I feel bad. I used to pick on this Christian guy back in the day. I used to tell him, Jesus drank. He said drank. It was part of the way of life. Why would you? It was written by man. I said all that stuff, and I feel bad, but like I said, I was forgiven, and like I said, it was a good learning reason, and it was a reason where I am today.
So just have one question about what you said. When you said you look at a religious symbol, that's just any religious symbol, that's a sign.
It could be anybody. If, let's just say you're not, I think, we'll finish. I'm sorry for cutting you off. Finish your question.
No. What I'm trying to say is, like, you said if you look at any religious symbol, it's basically a sign from God. Is that?
No. You misquoted. Anything you look, a symbol in his area, anything that has to do with God. It could be a cross, a Bible. It could be anything resembling Christianity.
What about the crescent moon and star in Islam?
The crescent
or the
moon
Star
and
of David in
Islam.
Judaism?
That's occultic. If you look at anything, even if you look at the peace sign, you get that? That's actually a cross breaking in half. Anything you go, and this is true. You don't believe me? You could look at the origins, follow the origins of the star, even the David star. Was once up above shall be below. That's what the two things were. The two triangulars. Once was above shall be below. It's all cultic paganism shit that boils down to from centuries. This you gotta. This is crazy. If you do a lot of research, this stuff boils down to back in Babylon days. This is a war. And there was one thing I've noticed. I've done a lot of research on atheism too. It could be agnostic, it could be whatever. And I've seen, atheists who turn Christian. And one thing I've noticed, and this is actually kind of like a fair understanding, is somewhere along atheism, whoever's an atheist, somewhere around their life, they gave God a chance and they wanted God to like answer their prayers for something. It could have been either a family member dying or something very drastic where they really needed God. And they were praying, and nothing happened. And right there, boom, they just like totally rejected him. And it generated the whole atheism. It's actually a beef they have with God. And that's what I've noticed. If you look at, this is just, it's like people who are serial daters, who are married constantly. There's a trail, there's a root cause of why they are the way they are. And it's weird, it's crazy, but yeah.
Okay, well, that's all the questions I have for you, but thank you so much for your time, Marcus. I really appreciate it.
All right, yeah. Made you think. I saw your eyes pop out like a little bit.
All right, you take care, man.
Yeah, made his eyes pop out because you were saying some crazy shit.
What's your beef with God, Phoenix?
What God?
Okay. All right, I'm having a brain fart.
Beef with God, Derek? Yes or no?
To be honest, in the beginning, yes.
Yeah, I understand.
Yep.
Do you want?
But I come from a very. I am a survivor of an abusive relationship with religion. Extremely abusive, both physical and psychological. Blah blah blah. But it. Right? Oh yeah, absolutely. But it did start off with I hated God. I hated God. I remember the moment that I lost my faith, the exact moment, the exact time, day. It was in August night, and what was happening in my mind. And it wasn't necessarily it wasn't a prayer that was not being answered. It was just an acknowledgement that something was there, and that I was not alone, and that something cared for me. And that's the silence that I received from that was the downward spiral that led to, accompanied by a lot of depression, but it was that really sealed it for me, that there's nothing out there. And it was sad. And There was for time being before I was really, because I was a young teenager. I was like 13 years old, and trying to process something that was contrary to what I'd been brought up with, not only believing but also fearing. Because it took me a long time to admit that I was an atheist. Because when you deny Christ, that's one of the you can't go. That's the point of no return. So it took me a long time to get to that point. But before I got to that point, before I really put into perspective what I was feeling, what I really truly believed, I did hate God. I hated him a lot.
It happens.
I never ended up hating him. It was a slow, gradual process. I very, very fervently believed growing up. And as I started to have some other experiences, I looked for more answers, found some answers in the pagan circles, pagan and occult stuff. I actually started to explore that. I was still Christian, but I was exploring this, going, but okay, what if that one line really isn't accurate, that it's not actually witchcraft is evil and whatnot? Because after all, King Solomon was one of the best practitioners of magic before he became a chosen one of God. And he was still worthy of being chosen by God. So clearly, it's not actually that bad. So I just explored that, and the Christian practices slowly just fell away, and eventually I just didn't believe it anymore.
Did you have any guilt exploring those pagan beliefs as a Christian?
No, not really.
Okay.
No, that rationality, of comparing King Solomon to me exploring this stuff for magic and whatnot, that was my rationality that got rid of the guilt. Mm-hmm. A Christian belief was what removed that guilt.
Did you ever try to turn a staff into a snake?
No.
Could Solomon do that? Moses could do that. That was one of his
wizard battle.
Yeah.
But Moses never actually did anything under his own power. It's always just God tells him to do something and he does it.
Well, Moses could even speak for himself. You had to have Aaron speak for him.
You guys know way
Read
too
your
much
Bible.
about the Bible.
Read your Bible.
You guys know way too much about
You got to read your Bible. Read it.
My experience has been I did 3 years inside, hard time, 1st through 3rd grade. Tried to indoctrinate me, and I'm a questioning kind of guy. I want to know. I ask questions.
Are you a biblical convict?
Yeah, I got out though. I only did 3
You
years.
did your time.
But those 3 years were enough that I had questioned the authorities, and I found their answers insufficient. And it got to a point where they said, you just have to have faith. And as a little kid, I said, okay, well, I'm ready. Give it to me. And I held out my hand, and they were like, well, no, it's not how it works. And I'm like, well, I'm here asking questions because you're supposed to be the experts. So are you saying you don't know? And they're like, well, only God really knows. It was just like some half non-answered nonsense that...
Yeah. In other words, yes, only God knows. Well, that's an admission that, no, you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
So let me ask you a question. So this guy referenced that he had a history of drug abuse.
Yes.
He's had...
And sex, drugs, rock and roll, blah, blah, blah. What are your thoughts on people who believe that only through God or through some religious intervention can they overcome these addictions?
Honestly, with that, sometimes you actually you hit a brick wall. You feel like you need something outside of yourself to give you the extra bit of willpower. What that extra bit of oomph, the source of that extra oomph to bolster your confidence or your willpower or whatever. If it happens to be a religion and that happens to work for you, okay. If it happens to be friends that are family that are supporting you, great. If you happen to go to a therapist and whatnot and that works, great. Whatever it happens to be that gives you the willpower to actually just stop doing the bad thing that you're doing, that's great. It doesn't have to be religion. But for some people, it turns out that it just happens to be religion is what it is that did the trick for them.
So that sets up an issue where you have the Dumbo effect, where Dumbo could fly all the time.
Feather,
Dumbo actually had the power of flight, but they told him he could fly if he had this feather. And it was only because of the feather that he could fly, and that's what he believed. So I think if you go to a place like AA, like Alcoholics Anonymous, they tell you, look, you can't be in this program unless you believe in a higher power. So it already sets up the fact that you're a failure. Number one, you're a failure because you're all fucked up, and that's why you're coming there, right? That's number one. Number two, you're a complete loser. You can't do this on your own. You've got to rely on something higher than you, and we are going to tell you what that is. It's got to be a higher power. They don't specify it has to be God or whatever, but they make it a point that you really can't do this on your own, and there's no way you could do it on your own. You got to do it.
Yeah, which makes you feel worthless, powerless.
Yeah.
You know, and it's about a third of the steps are reference to the higher power.
Yeah, like the magic of the higher power. Okay, but if there was a community of people who believed in you and who wanted to help you through this issue, I think you could probably get through it if you wanted to get through it.
Right.
If you had hit rock bottom. And sometimes I can see where if you hit rock bottom and you have no friends and you have no community because you've alienated them all from your nuttiness, your wackiness, you know, I kind of get that. But it seems super unfair that AA completely relies on this higher power mumbo jumbo.
Well, what's really interesting is that, he didn't convert until he hit rock bottom. I mean, I don't know how bad rock bottom was for him, but let's face it, you're essentially at the rock bottom. What kind of mental state are you in?
It happens.
What kind of things are you going to experience in that state of mind?
Yeah, it's not good. And we've seen it happen. Well, we haven't seen it, but the reports are for the prison population, that rock bottom is pretty close. You know, there are a lot of people who suddenly find a higher power when they go in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, does God speak to you in signs?
Oh, boy.
If you want to believe that there's some special, super higher power than yourself entity that's speaking, that's so powerful, they can orchestrate signs to happen for you to see, then I question your sanity, honestly. If there was a being that had the power to orchestrate all that, why wouldn't they just send you a text? Why wouldn't they just come to you personally? Why wouldn't they be more direct? If it was so important, why would they rely on some sign that could be misinterpreted?
Oh, no.
Totally misinterpreted.
Yep. And it's your fault because he was there trying to speak with you.
Yeah, well, you're always to blame. That's how the game works.
This guy's view of signs is you look at any religious symbol or holy book, whatever.
That he believed.
That is the sign from God that if you ignore, you're automatically rejecting God.
Yeah, it's a thing you're being quite arrogant because you're rejecting God when you don't. It's like, yeah, but what if you're in a spot where you're seeing religious signs of other cultures, other people, other religions?
Well, that's the devil.
Well, that's just
everything else is
from
of the devil, huh?
From his viewpoint. The other religions are occultic, and what's
pagan.
real interesting, Christianity is built upon the foundation of Judaism, and the symbol of Judaism, the Star of David, he views as occultic.
True.
Yeah. And compares it.
Do your research, man.
And compares it to he actually brings up the Wiccan phrase of "as above, so below." You know, as a comparison to the Star of David. It's
That's a first for me.
I never heard that before.
How did you even get there? And then he also says the peace symbol is somebody broke the cross.
Yeah,
And
I've heard that before.
and that's absolute horseshit. It was originally designed, for nuclear disarmament. The flags. You know how you signal long distance with flags. So you have different hand positions holding a flag. It's stylizing that in a circle. So you start with a circle, and then you have N, which is 2 downward angles, and then D is 1 up, 1 down.
Yeah.
So that's actually what you have. It's stylized and superimposed on each other to get the peace symbol, nuclear disarmament.
See, I heard the same explanation for the swastika. It's a broken cross as well.
Really?
Yeah,
Yep.
So that had nothing to do with the ancient culture that's been around thousands of years before the Christians were even thought of?
are the very foundation for.
That is correct.
Yeah, they actually use the swastika and the inverted form of it for mathematics. I believe in Japan. I think. Don't quote me on that one. I might get the country wrong.
Sobo or
but they'll use that for positive and
check it out
negative,
for us, buddy.
plus and minus. To which direction it's going. It's used.
I always find it amazed about how much power that the religious put into symbology. I mean, it's like it's like they believe that you can summon demons with just these images. Just demon.
Well, if you can summon the angels or God with just a prayer, I mean, why not? Mm-hmm. The wacky thing is, I actually did a spot of research. I'm gonna go give you a little something I got from WebMD. So he said he was doing meth, right, to suppress his anger and rage. Well, I looked up WebMD.
That'll make you more aggressive.
Okay, well, it says the side effects include increased energy and dopamine, confidence, and weight loss. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, yeah, meth doesn't sound too bad, but also mood swings, erratic behavior, violent outbursts, sleepiness, paranoia, and hallucinations.
Yeah.
So I can see how you could get to some odd conclusion about life.
Right.
If you're on meth.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
You got to remember that with meth, particularly meth, because it's such a vindictive drug that it's not one of those where you end up taking it for fun, but eventually end up taking it because you have to. You can't get through the day. And you're always striving for that feel of euphoria because you do get that that invincibility, the personality.
Tiger blood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jesus blood.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, apparently it gave him enough confidence to pick on a Christian kid, and then he asked for forgiveness, and all of a sudden he's forgiven by the grace of Jesus. But what about asking that Christian kid for forgiveness personally? Like, hey, you're quite a jackass. Maybe some one-on-one, like, hey, man, I'm really sorry, whatever. And that's part of the 12-step thing, too, is to apologize for the people you hurt and everything.
Yep.
It doesn't seem like he went to that personal spot and said, hey, I'm really sorry about this and this and that. It sounds like just everything's forgiven with Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I used to work in an alcohol rehab program when I was in the military. And for that particular step, it's even kind of flubbed as well. They would write undelivered notes or letters to people that they've wronged.
Do they go to the same place the notes for Santa go?
Probably.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah. So you write a letter to all the people that you wronged, and it's not sent. Basically, you're just kind of regurgitating these feelings of acknowledging that you did wrong these people, but not necessarily. Or sometimes it's not realistic. Sometimes it's going to cause more problems and whatever. But it's kind of like just acknowledging these issues of what you did to somebody and kind of leaving it at that.
Well, I think if you've hit rock bottom, you should have a list of things that you regret. Mm-hmm. That's realistic. I don't know that a higher power needs to intervene in that, but it just kind of seems like a common sense thing.
Yep.
Whatever.
Depends on what you how would you define a higher power?
Something higher than yourself.
What's higher?
I've heard stories of you. I don't think anybody can be higher than you.
Yep, that much meth. Yep.
There are some people.
Oh, I wasn't going to go there, but touche.
There are some people who say this doorknob is my higher power to get around it.
This cup,
this cup, this fine crafted Talk Heathen mug that I'm sipping off of. It's not a higher power, but it's pretty nice.
How does that taste?
It's very satisfying.
Delicious.
Very satisfying. I'd do it again. But not too much that it would wreck my life and relationships. So, yeah, higher power.
So as you two drink from your higher powers, how do you feel?
I feel it's good that people get help for issues. I mean, if you're telling the interviewer that he could read his hands and get him to do what he wants him to do.
He's basically admitting he was manipulative.
Or his psychosis led him to believe he had superpowers that he didn't actually have.
Yeah, he's given a different conclusion, but I actually admire that trait in somebody. Whereas if I kind of would relate myself to that too. I'm able to read people's facial expressions, their body language, and interpret that, make interpretations, make judgments. Part of getting my needs met is, for lack of better words, manipulating others, or
It's a human thing.
it's a human thing.
People do it all the time.
There was nothing. I mean, with it always goes with intentions. You know, if my intentions are ill, then yeah, that is a negative type thing. But for most part, that's how I get my needs met. You know, judging. You know, if I kind of like do the little sad puppy eyes to get you to give me something I need, or or ask for help in a certain way, or
Well, the thing is that people underestimate just how much of our communication is actually done via our physical gestures, our motions. Body language makes up for almost 50% of it.
yeah.
Or more, depending on which culture you're talking to.
Yeah.
Like Italians, it's a little more.
Yeah. Just like when we're preparing for the show and Ben's trying to get us to hurt us like cats, and I see that vein pop up. That's. I was like, no, cut it out.
Yeah.
Focus.
I think it's. Oh man, it's been I don't know how long since I looked
Actually,
it
got
up.
like two veins that come out.
But you got
One
like,
right there and one right there. But I just
probably about like 10%.
When that one comes out?
is your choice of words, the actual words you use. Then about like 30% is tonality, and then about almost 50% is body language. And I know I'm fudging those numbers because I don't remember the specifics, but it's roughly proportioned about that way.
Cool. Yeah. Well, text is not a great way to communicate, although it's kind of a shortcut. That's how we live now. Emojis help, I guess.
I just had a crazy thought. Wouldn't it be cool if you could have like body language through your hair?
I do.
Like an animal.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, animals do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Animals.
And we actually still do, to some degree. We still
Very
get
good point, yeah.
bumps and whatnot. And we raise body hair. So
Yeah, if you see my swishing my hair back and forth, my hair back and forth, my hair back and forth, yeah, it means I'm probably getting attacked by a bee or something. I'm trying.
I thought that was a mating call.
So, like how horses swat flies off of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how like certain, like the birds, they fan their fit.
Yeah.
Like a peacock.
Well, they have mating displays and they have a mantling display.
Oh, gosh.
But yeah, communication is key. If you're all whacked out on drugs, your communication is probably not going to be there. I think some of the things the guy said, he was honestly trying to communicate what was going on with him. And I'm glad he's off the hard stuff. I don't know if that affected him permanently for the rest of his life. He's going to be kind of weird, but
Yeah, I like to give him some advice that, if you think it's God or a brain fart, let's go with brain fart.
yeah, let's just go there until the evidence suggests otherwise.
All righty. Do we have anything else you want to cover?
I think we covered
I think we
everything.
covered everything. I have one more thing.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing? Anything going on that you need some help with? Because I have an answer for you, and it's right back here.
You may have an answer.
I may have an answer. No, I do. It's the truth and the light.
That's what you've been told?
That's what I've been told by my Christian friends.
My Christian friends have also said, you know what? All the answers are in that book, right? That's the only book you need. I've heard it.
Yep.
So before we crack it open to a random page, we're going to go around and see what issues are plaguing us at this point.
I like that, plaguing you.
Yeah.
So rare to get to use that in a sentence nowadays.
It's very rare, but I like to do
What
it.
is plaguing thee?
Let's go with something I had experienced long ago in my past, where I have several close friends in relationships with narcissists that are really abusing them.
Okay, abusive relationships.
Ooh. I am
That's heavy.
looking for the perfect taco spot in where I live, which is not around here. Around here, I'd say Taco Deli is my front runner, but
Yeah,
shout out
you
to
made a
Taco
fan of
Deli.
me.
If you want to be a sponsor, hit us up because that grub is delish.
I love that purple bean stuff.
Freaking vegan is what it was.
Freaking vegan?
Yeah. So I really need to get an amazing Mexican restaurant in my local area, and it's been a hardship, and I've had to go to some not so great places.
Yep.
My quest continues. Derek, anything plaguing you, my friend?
I need to appropriate tell some people off.
Yeah, in a very nice, subtle
Yes, without
way.
burning bridges.
Yeah, with just being firm in your
Yeah.
your relationships and setting boundaries,
Yes.
being a reasonable human being,
Sure.
expecting the same.
Sure.
I like it.
All right. Random page, random chapter, random verse. Isaiah chapter 1, verse 13. Bring no more vain oblations. Incest is an abomination unto me. The new moons and Sabbath, the calling of assemblies, I cannot away with. It is iniquity, even the solemn meeting. That made no fucking sense.
I need to call, like it said, those people together, and from now on, I feel it right here. I'm gonna consult Yelp. That's gonna be my higher power in this situation.
Bring.
Yelp is gonna help me.
Okay, we'll read it one more time. Bring no more vain oblations. Incense is an abomination unto me.
Incense or incest?
Incense.
Incense.
Incense?
Yeah, the stuff you burn when you burn.
Oh, come on, man.
It sounded like you said incest. The
Yeah,
first
that's what I
Incense.
heard the first time.
Well, it's like hyphenated at this, so I was like, I'm reading it and I don't know what the end of it's going to be. It just says IN-sense, so it's incense.
Okay.
Is an abomination unto me. The new moons and Sabbath, the calling of assemblies, I cannot away with.
Wait a second. Are you reading the lyrics to some Black Sabbath song right now? Because it's starting to sound real familiar.
This is what we get for switching over to a King James.
Am Iron Man.
Phoenix, how is that helping you in any way, shape, or form?
I cannot away. It is the iniquity, even the solemn meeting. That makes no sense.
There's going to be a solemn meeting of people on Yelp to tell me where the best Mexican restaurant is, and that's what I'm counting on.
Yeah, I get the impression with that is not to put up with them anymore, just to get them out of your life, which is advice that I actually gave to my female friends that were in those kind of relationships, because I've had several throughout the years that ended up in abusive relationships.
Do you think they stay because of the incense is so good? Like it's just awesome to walk into a place.
It's vain oblation.
Yeah, but it feels good. It just feels nice.
Don't vain your oblation.
It just, I don't know, man. What do you think, Derek? Is that helping you?
Yeah, I have vain oblations all the time.
So you need to take steps, my friend.
I know, abominations. I gotta get rid of
What do they
abominations.
mean by oblations? Because for me, oblations,
It's something to be vain over.
it's like
It's
Like musings? Is it like musings?
Is it
sounds
kind of like on
who's that?
vain vagaries.
I don't know,
is
but-
what I'm hearing.
Who is that?
Whatever. It should speak to you, and it should speak to you like many faithful believers say it does, and it's just the perfect phrase at the perfect time, in your hour of need, when you're searching, I haven't hit a rock bottom, but apparently when you're searching for guidance, there it is, closed, open and shut case.
Yeah, I think Isaiah failed me. Alrighty. Well, I think that wraps up another episode of Atheist Vanguard. Thank you for joining us. Please like and subscribe, and please join the conversation down
Those
below.
comments down below.
Yep. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.